My name is Angela Broadus, and I'm a fifth grade science teacher here in Maryland. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into today's video. Today's video is on how to create a TEI for science instruction. So for those of you who may not be aware, a TEI stands for a Tech Enhanced Item, and the purpose for utilizing TEIs in science instruction, especially in Prince George's County Public Schools, is so that students are familiar and well-versed with utilizing technology that uses drag and drop features. So for example, I teach fifth grade students, and in the state of Maryland, all fifth grade students are required and mandated to take the Maryland Integrated Science Assessment. And on the assessment, there are certain questions that require students to drag and drop responses and answer choices. And so in order to better prepare the students, we expose them to TEIs like the one that you currently see in front of you. So this is a sample of a TEI, and today we're going to learn how to create one that can be used for science instruction. You can also utilize a TEI for reading, math, social studies. You can choose however you would like to use your TEI for, or which content area you would like to utilize your TEI for. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. The way I typically open up a Google Drawing, which is what we're using in order to create our TEI, I can open this from Google Drive. I can open a Google Drawing from a Google Doc, Google Slides, wherever. So if you just click on File, New, and then Drawing, it will open up a new drawing. And so what we're going to do is, the first thing that we're going to do is set up our page. Go to File and Page Setup, and we want the widest screen possible for our TEI. So we're going to change the page setup to widescreen 16:10 and apply that. And I definitely want to take the time to shout out Jessica Leedy, who taught me how to create a TEI using Google Drawing. She is amazing and phenomenal, great friend. So thank you, Jessica. Because of her, I use TEIs all the time. And when I was creating curriculum for one of the grade levels in Prince George's County, I ended up creating quite a few TEIs that the teachers could utilize during their instruction. So we have our page set up. The next thing that we're going to do is actually click on the shapes, and we're going to choose a rectangular shape, and we're going to just have a colored background. I like to have a solid background for my TEI. And right now it's blue. It's typically black for me. You could choose whatever color you want. The next thing that we're going to do is create a place for the title. So we could go ahead and we're going to just title this TEI. Oops, I can't see. Let me change the font to white. We're going to title this TEI Plant, Parts, and Function. So this TEI is based on the fourth grade performance expectation of 4-LS1-1. And in a moment, I'll go ahead and show you how to access that performance expectation. And let's make this a little bigger. Actually, we can make it a little bigger. So we're mimicking this. And it's actually smaller. And we're going to change the background to blue. And we're going to center our title. There we go. So the performance expectation that this TEI is based on is 4-LS1-1, like I said previously. And essentially, students who demonstrate understanding can construct an argument that plants and animals have internal and external structures that function to support survival, growth, behavior, and reproduction. So this TEI is based on that performance expectation. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, we're mimicking exactly what we see over here. I'm going to first We're going to go ahead and type the problem. Every TEI that I create has its own problem. And essentially the purpose of creating a problem is to provide a real world scenario that is applicable and relevant to the students so they can even see themselves within the problem. So our problem is Robert and Lori were talking about the different parts of a plant and their function. Lori was having a bit of difficulty remembering the different plant parts and what they do. To make life simple, I'm simply going to copy and paste the information there just for the sake of time. So we have our problem. The next thing that we need to do is we need to have our directions. So I'm going to go ahead and create another text box that will house the directions. And just like I did with the problem, I'm going to copy and paste the information for the sake of time. So there we go. We have our problem, we have our directions, and the directions simply say, help Lori choose the correct words to complete the sentences, drag and drop the words to fill in the blank, label each part of the plant with the correct letter. So we have our problem, and I'm actually going to scoot this up a little bit. We have our directions, and then the next thing that I like to do is I like to incorporate an image that represents the demographics of my students so that they can see themselves in the problem. And usually I get these pictures or these images from Google, or I get the images from Pinterest. For the sake of time, instead of searching for an image, I'm going to use an image I already have. So this is the image that we will utilize for our TEI for today. Alrighty. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create this, build out this side of the TEI, and we're going to need a very large text box in order to do that. Or, I'm sorry, not a text box. We will need another rectangular shape. Alrighty. The blue is a little different, so let me change it so it matches everything else. There we go. So I always like to remind my students about how they need to go back to their science journal and use their notes to assist them in completing this TEI. So I'm going to incorporate that reminder. Alrighty, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and, if you look at the final product of the TEI, this image right here actually comes from the student's HMH Science Dimension textbook. I simply took a screenshot of the image, and that is how I was able to get this image. And I uploaded the image from my desktop. So what we will need to do, if you would like the step-by-step for that really quickly, is open up another tab, go to Clever, which houses our HMH Science Dimension textbook, log in, scroll down and select HMH ED. The next thing that we're going to do is click on the Discover page to get access to the textbook. And like I told you guys before, the TEI is based on a 4th grade performance expectation. So I need the 4th grade textbook. I need to come here to Unit 4, Plant Structure and Function. And I need to click on View Resources under Lesson 1 so I can access the student edition of the PDF. You want to make sure you access the student edition of the PDF because the teacher edition has all the answers. So I select any one of those PDFs, and the one I happened to choose took me directly to the page for where I can find the image I would like to incorporate into my TEI. I'm going to go ahead and take a screenshot, and I have a Mac computer. So I need to hit Command-Shift-4, which will provide me with the opportunity to create a screenshot. Then I'm going to come to my TEI, and I'm going to go to Insert, Image, Upload from Computer. I'm going to go to my desktop, and I'm going to upload the image. I will need to resize the image in order for it to fit accordingly. And we are almost done. So we have our image. The next thing that we need to do is we need to incorporate question marks. And I'm actually going to go ahead and move this image over to the right. So I can just, and you'll see why in a second. Essentially what I need to do is I'm going to create text boxes that will have question marks, and I'm going to have to group each of the question marks with this image so that everything moves all at once together. And you'll see what I mean in a moment. So the very first thing I'm going to do is create a text box. I'm going to create a question mark. I will change the font of my question mark to Chelsea Market. I'm going to color in the box a dark blue. I'm going to change the color of the question mark to a white so it's more easily seen. I'm going to resize the question mark just a bit. All right, so this is what we have. I'm going to copy, and I'm going to paste this on top. Now, what I need to do is I need to go ahead and make sure I have question marks for each of these blanks and for each of these circles. So I'm going to go ahead and do that at this time. Alrighty, so I have all my question marks. The next thing I need to do is group my question marks to the image so that when I move my image or move this image, everything will move together. So I have a Mac, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down the Shift key and click on each question mark. And then I'm also going to click on the background, and I'm going to click on Control, right click, and I'm going to group everything together. So now when I move this image, everything moves together. Now, this is one thing that you need to be careful of. There's a final step to this TEI, and I'll show it to you guys in a very short while. But because it's so easy for students to accidentally move different parts of the TEI, they can easily move this background right here and different things by accident. I'm going to show you a really crucial step at the very end of this TEI to minimize students being able to move various things around on your TEI. So the last thing that we need to do is we need a place for all the answer choices. So I'm going to create a text box right here. You could create a text box or a shape. It depends on your preference. And I'm going to put the title answer choices and change the font to Chelsea Market. Change it to white. I'm going to center it, make it bigger, bold it. There we go. So the next step that we're going to do is we're going to create a text box, another text box, And for the sake of time, I'm just going to copy and paste the wording from our final. Paste it over here. We're going to change the background to white. Place a border around it. We'll also place a border. Well, we won't place a border around that. We'll leave it as it is. And then we're going to create the answer choices for this section of the TEI. So the students need to fill in the blank with the correct plant part. So for example, this part of the plant grows down into soil. So they need to identify whether it's the root, the stem, the leaf, or the flower that does this function. So root, put a border, color the background a dark blue, change the font to white, change the font to Ellen. All right, so that's one of our first answer choices. And for the sake of time, I'm just going to copy and paste a little bit wider. All righty. So these are our answer choices. Okay. The next thing that we need to do is we need to create the answer choices for when the students need to label, correctly label the diagram. So as you guys can see, each letter is going to correspond with an answer. So the students need to say which part of this plant is the roots. So the answer for this question is root. So the students would need to put the letter A right here. And you're going to see that in a short while. Give me a moment. Alrighty, so one thing you need to do is double check to see what happens when you place the answer choices on top. Luckily for us, the word automatically appears on top of the image, but there are some instances where when you try to drag the answer choice on top of the image, the answer choice will be behind this image. So let me show you what to do in that instance. In the instance that, and I'm actually going to show you an example. I'm going to purposely change the order of this answer choice and send it to the back. All right. So let's say I drag this answer choice and I put it on top of the image. Sometimes what happens is naturally the answer choice will be behind the picture, just like you guys see currently. So what you need to do in that instance is you need to right click on your answer choice, go to order, and bring it to the front. And when you bring it to the front, when you try to drag your answer choice and place it on top of the question mark, your answer choice will be on top of the image versus being behind the image. And one thing I highly suggest that you do is double check every answer choice and place it on top of the image to make sure all the answer choices are on top of the image. You especially want to do this before you assign it to your students. So the very final step that we want to do is we want to take a screenshot of this whole entire background. Now you might be thinking, what's the point of doing all that? Well, if you do that, you decrease the possibility of your students being able to just accidentally shift things around on your TEI. Now, yes, I can group everything. So I can hit the shift key and group every piece of this TEI together. I can group everything together. Right click, group, right? I can do all of that. My image went behind. Move it back. Click, order, bring to front. And then I need to group that with this and make sure. All right, so I'm gonna fix this really quickly. Fix this specifically. All right. And then I just need to make sure everything aligns the way that it needs to align. Sorry. All right, so this is what everything looks like. Everything has been grouped, but it's still possible for the students to accidentally shift things around on your TEI, and you want to reduce the likelihood of students doing that and making mistakes. So, for example, it's easy for students to move, even though everything is grouped. There have been times where students were able to move individual pieces and components of the TEI, even though everything was grouped together accordingly. So to minimize the chances of all of that, I took a screenshot of this TEI, and I'm actually gonna just delete everything. Oops, didn't need to delete that one thing. I'm deleting everything, and I'm going to go to Insert, Image, Upload from Computer, and I'm going to attach the TEI. So this is the image. I just took a screenshot. Remember, we took a screenshot earlier, and I just uploaded or inserted the screenshot. So I'm trying to make sure it fits everything. And this is what we have. This is our final product. So the students are able, if you're curious to see what the answers are, it's root. All right, this is a perfect example of what I was talking about earlier, where when I drag my answer choice, the answer choices behind the image. So I could solve this in one of two ways. Either I can bring all my answer choices to the front, or I could just take this whole image and send it to the back. Order, send to back. So that when the students drag their answer choices, it's visible. So the first answer is root. This is leaf. This is stem. This is flower. And then, as you guys can see, each letter corresponds with the part of the plant. So the root is A. So the students need to drag letter A to where the roots are. And they need to do that for each of the other letters. This is the leaf. This is the stem. And this is the flower. And that is how you create a TEI. Really simple, really easy. And over time, when you create one TEI, it's really simple to just make a copy of the previous TEI and adjust the wording in the boxes accordingly, and then use that same template for your future TEIs. Now, if you decide to use the screenshot, I would say make two copies. Make one copy where it's a student copy, a student-friendly copy, where this would be the student-friendly copy. And then I would create a teacher copy, which has the individual text boxes and all of that jazz, so that when it comes time for you to make edits to your TEI for other assignments, you can simply just make a copy of the teacher version that you had created and just switch out the wording to suit the content of whatever you're currently teaching. So that is everything in a nutshell. And there's an easy way to grade TEIs, and I will talk about that in part 2 of how to create a TEI. Alrighty, thank you so much. I hope you found this helpful. If you found this video helpful, please leave a comment down below saying what you enjoyed about it or what was helpful. If you also have any questions, please leave your questions in the comment section down below as well, and I'll make sure to get back to you. And please feel free to share this video with other teachers who you think may find it beneficial. And like I said before, you can use this across all content area. You can use this in middle school, you can use this in high school, and it's a really amazing way to keep the students engaged and they really enjoy it as well. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a blessed day, and I'll see you in the next video.